You will hear two people discussing a seminar about Charles Darwin that they are organizing. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 27. Listen carefully to the first part of the discussion and answer questions 21 to 27.
About this Darwin seminar we're heading up,
Yes?
we're not going into theory and all that, are we?
No, we agreed. It's to be mainly biographical. We've all read the theory, the scientific stuff. What we don't know much about is the man himself, what he was like, what he got up to when he was young as a university student, stuff like that.
Right. Well, I've already researched the early years, when he went to school in Shrewsbury. By all accounts, he was a poor student, lazy and slow to learn, though he was an athletic type, but not much interested in what school had to offer.
What was he interested in?
It seems he got interested in natural history, or nature rather, from an early age. Its immense variety. But it didn't develop into a passion till later. And he liked to collect things, insects, minerals, as well as the usual coins and stamps. But it was more just what boys did rather than a real hobby. What he really liked at this stage was dogs and fishing.
And he's about how old?
9 or 10, about to go to school in Shrewsbury. I'll be researching that in more detail later, but I've already made preliminary notes. In fact, for most of his education.
Did it get any better?
Not really. In fact, his father removed him from the school in Shrewsbury for not paying attention to his studies, getting poor grades and his excessive laziness. He found the curriculum either too boring or too difficult, like Greek. But out of school hours, he developed new pastimes which he was passionate about, hiking and chemistry. His brother, Erasmus, had set up a lab and he assisted him in various experiments. It earned him the nickname Gas Darwin. Oh, and he also flunked out of medical school at Edinburgh later. His father said he cared for nothing but shooting, dogs and rat catching, and was a disgrace to the family.
So not a good student then. There's hope for us all. So you're doing childhood and youth, education and I'm going to cover some of the same ground, but with a different focus, specific influences on him, the men and women who made him see where his career lay, and his 5-year voyage on the Beagle.
That's a lot to cover. Perhaps we could share the burden. I could do maps of the routes taken and the pictures of the places he visited. And perhaps pictures, drawings, whatever, of some of his finds.
Good idea. But I'll do the pictures as it's something I really want to do. You can do the routes, though.
Fine.
Now you have some time to look at questions 28 to 30. Now listen to the next part of the discussion and answer questions 28 to 30.
What have you got so far?
I've made copious notes. It's all about putting them into coherent order.
We can make sure all the joins of my notes and yours are invisible together. Tell me a little of what you've got.
For a start, he wasn't first choice as a naturalist on board the Beagle, and his family, especially his father, were opposed to him going.
Why's that? Surely they would have been pleased to see him finally get his act together and find a purpose in life.
That's just it. They thought the opposite, that it was the same old Charles shirking responsibility and avoiding choosing a proper career. Remember, he dropped out of medical school, now he was at Cambridge preparing for the clergy and about to drop that to go gallivanting about foreign parts collecting odds and ends. It looked like he was wasting his time and that he'd never settle into a respectable life and career.
Little did they know.
Exactly. We know what comes next, but his father just saw a feckless son who had no idea what he wanted to do and looked as though he would never amount to anything.
So he wasn't first choice.
No, and he almost didn't get the post for a daft reason he only found out about when he had got to know the captain, Fitzroy, much better. Fitzroy was a fan of Lavater and thought that he could tell a person's character by his facial features. On first meeting, he didn't like the shape of Darwin's nose and thought it showed he didn't have the strength of character to endure a long voyage of exploration.
That's good. We need anecdotes like that to liven things up. Right, I'll get going on shaping up his educational background.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4.